Hey, Alex, thanks for joining us this morning. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. I'm a manufacturing engineer at a aerospace company. We make engine parts for the F-35. We make composite engine parts using compression molding techniques, and we use CNCs and CMMs to do our machining and inspection. And in our CNC, we use adaptive machining using the NCT program. And I've had pretty good experience with that so far.
Yeah, how difficult was it to learn to use NC?
It was a little bit of a process. The graphical user interface is pretty understandable or user-friendly, but understanding the error that the probing program outputs and how to overcome or to improve that error, I think is the hardest part that we've run into. We just made an adjustment a couple days ago to fix that because we were having some smaller issues with our probing program not progressing past the probing to actually start machining. So I would say it is user-friendly, but still has a small barrier to entry for really knowing how to fix the problems or use the program properly.
Yeah. And how do you guys use NC transforms? And I guess I'll follow that up with what features do you guys use the most?
So we have two part numbers that we use for the program that I work on. And we have the G code and the M code written in an NC file, basically a text file. And the NCT program, to my understanding, takes that file, converts it into a usable program for the CNC, and then will run the program on the CNC itself. And we essentially have a probing program and a machining program, and the probing program will continue to run until it is below a certain threshold, and we'll make adjustments to our fourth axis or the X, Y, or Z to try to match the part in the perfect spot. So that way we get consistency from every part to part, because each part that we mold is slightly different, but we like them to all be the same. So this helps us try to get there.
Yeah, for you guys using auto alignment, global orientation, local orientation, toolpath morphing, what would you say is the greatest feature within NC Transform?
That I'm not so sure, to be honest. I don't have as close of knowledge with that kind of stuff. That would be a better question for the programmer on our team. I have better understanding of the issues that we have and how to fix them, but the specific features of NCT I'm less familiar with, to be honest.
What kind of CAD/CAM program do you guys use?
So we use SolidWorks for pretty much everything that we do, but the drawings and the CAD that's flowed down to us from the customer is in NX. So we have both capabilities, but our main software is SolidWorks.
Yeah, and what kind of machines do you guys run in Citraswell?
We use them on a UMC 750. We have two of them, but I believe they're also used on, I think there is a UMC 1000 that it's used on as well. We use it for a couple different programs, so it's pretty useful and pretty common at our site. Yeah.
Do you guys use them on your Grobes as well?
I am not sure about that. I don't work on that program. I would not be surprised, but I'm not as familiar.
What benefits are you guys seeing in your manufacturing process from using NC Transform?
We've had a lot more consistency in machining of our parts. Our biggest issue is our molds are very different from mold to mold. But the best thing about NCT is it helps us try to machine these vastly different parts to be the same. Now, the part that we machine, not every single feature of that part gets machined. So the features that don't get machined are essentially stuck where they're at with their variability. But we can try to dial in and make as similar as possible the parts or the features of the part that are machined. And that helps us have consistency or more consistency across the board, so we don't run into so many issues holding tight tolerances.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And what changes to your process did the software enable you guys to make?
I think we were able to identify more quickly issues with machining or with molding, and it allowed us to have better throughput through CMM through our inspection. And because our process flow, right after we machine the part, we go inspect it. And before we had the adaptive machining, there was a lot of different non-conformances that we would run into. And now that we have more consistency there, all the features that are machined are much more consistent and have a lot better of a first pass yield when they go to inspection. So that has helped us quite a bit there. The, I guess, next issue that we're running into is the other part of the part that isn't affected by machining is what we are trying to fix.
And that kind of leads me to our next question. How easy was it to implement NCT into new programs or existing programs?
That is a good question. That predated me, so I don't have full knowledge of that. But I believe it wasn't, from what I've heard, it seems like it wasn't too difficult. It seems like it was a little bit of a process to get to where we're at now. But having Alex Mitchell come out and help us dial in those programs at the start, I think was really very beneficial.
Can you tell us the story of how the product improved a certain part or a certain process that you worked on?
Yes. So we have a feature on our part. There is essentially, our part has two larger features. There is a flat piece on the bottom of the part, and we have a very flat cut that happens at that side of the part. We were having some times where we were undercutting that, and we couldn't figure out why. We'd make a change, and certain parts would pass, and certain parts would still fail. And this adaptive machining helps us prevent that from happening, because it will put the part in the perfect position, so that way it gets cut to nominal. It doesn't get cut under. Because in the past, we've had different parts from different molds that have, if you load it in the fixture and you run the same program, one part is over, one part is under. Now with the adaptive machining, they're all essentially nominal. And that is...
Manufacturers use kind of what we call a cut, measured cut philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you guys used to use prior to NCT? And is that since NCT and applying it to your process?
I think we're more of a measure twice, cut once type of process. I'm not exactly sure how it was done before, but we don't really get, or we do have the capability to rework parts, but we try to limit that as much as possible, so that way we get it right the first time. So as much as we can, we dial in the program, do the validation, verification. That way, when we run it on a production part, it's successful as often as possible.
Perfect, thank you. If you were talking to another manufacturing engineer who's dealing with some of the same challenges you are, what would you tell them about NC Transpond?
I would tell them that it is helpful for a lot of different features, and it helps have more consistency in your production line, and it can help you identify other issues. You can like, if you use NCT Transform, you can improve your first pass yield of your machine parts, and it can help you eliminate that from your list of things to fix and move on to the next hottest fire. So I think it's definitely helpful, especially for very machining based products. Our product is kind of 50-50, where 50% of it is the compression molding and the other 50% is the actual machining of the part. So I think it is helpful for us, but for a product where it was almost 100% CNC based, that would be even more beneficial.